Wes, Mark Smith in the chat says I'm about to start my workout, but I'll be back. Do you think maybe we should be going on to the gym with him? Should we be like in his pocket, or we could be the motivation that he needs, man? We could be like, just one more set. Come on, come on.
Yeah, maybe he can be the motivation that I need, bro. I've been sitting here contemplating standing up and exercising at all, maybe once before the end of the year, but time's running out.
Yeah. I think maybe we should just do this at the gym. Like this is where we should film Gamescast live. Like, dude, I don't think anything will test your stamina more than like running on a treadmill and trying to have a normal conversation at the same time without sounding like, and then down the metro tunnel. Hold on one second. One second.
Well, I do pride myself on doing unique content, and that would be different. Like if we were like any other setting other than sitting in a chair in front of a microphone, like would be pretty compelling. I feel like people might be into it.
I think so. I think so. I mean, if nothing else, people would laugh at us, and you know,
Oh,
th-
definitely. That would
that's a thing.
definitely happen.
Right. All right.
All
Well,
the
we've got an
praise.
idea for our next show, so keep that in the back of your mind, and when we don't do it, you'll know why. 'Cause it sounds like a terrible fucking idea. Let's go.
Let's go.
Mm, Okay, I was a blue box, but you're still a blue box. Hold on, I got this. I got this. I got this. I know how to do this. There we go. This is PSVR Gamescast Live. We film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and 2 Eyes Friday right here on YouTube. We do it live for your viewing pleasure, 6 p.m. Eastern. But we also care about your oral pleasure. That's why our good friend RidePop puts this thing up on podcast services of your choice. And hey, you know what? If this is too long of a conversation for you to sit through and you're just looking for specific topics for that we're going to go through, maybe you saw the thumbnail and you're like, this sounds really good, but I don't want to listen to him talk for 15. Well, our good friend Waleed puts timestamps into the show every single Wednesday. So just be patient. Everybody's going to get what they want. My name's Brian Paul from this show right here. And with me to my left, your right, it's Wes Dillon from Virtual Strangers. What's up, Wes?
What's up, Brian? What's up, Game Cats? No, not much, man. Been writing. Doing a lot of writing today.
Yeah, you novella. You writing some young adult fiction. You're doing some romance. What's
Harlequin. 100%. You nailed it.
bro? Those. Do you remember the covers of all those like romance books
Oh
when we
yeah.
were young? Like that was as close to porn as I saw walking through the grocery store.
Yeah. Yeah. Fabio on half of them, right? With his
Yes,
long flowing locks. Yeah.
that's funny. Was it actually Fabio, or were they just using Fabio as a
I think,
model?
I think, well, right.
Like
That was,
unlicensed, I mean, like that was the
oh,
definition of the sexy muscular long haired man. And so all of them just kind of looked like Fabio, or was it actually like we paid Fabio to come in and somebody drew him?
so in my mind, they were all Fabio.
Yeah.
Now, in reality, who knows? It could have just been some dude. Um, but it's an interesting question, and that would be an interesting research topic if anyone wants to take it up. Um, in fact, I think we should start doing our thumbnails like that. Like we could
Whoa.
have Fabio in like Metro gear
Mm-hmm.
in that same art style with the flowing hair. And every episode have a different one of those. And AI could do this shit in 5 seconds.
Yeah, they could. Yep. And I would fucking click on all of that shit.
Yeah,
'Cause,
yeah, for sure.
yeah,
I think
it
I'm
would
gonna
be a
do it.
little bit retro. It would be a little bit VR. It'd be a little bit, I don't know, like homoerotic, which I'm fucking down with. That sounds good. So
I like it.
yeah,
I'm seriously contemplating doing this now. Like, how could we?
right.
Because it's time for us to have a brand change, Brian. Like every couple of years, I rebrand on Virtual Strangers, and we're getting close to time to rebrand again. So I'm trying to think of how we can make things look cool and keep everything fresh. And maybe that's it. Maybe we have these like super sensationalized AI created thumbnails each week.
I mean,
that
you already
depict whatever game we're talking about.
you already have Strangers in the Night, which is like just it already sounds like it's gonna be like a Skinamax flick or something, right?
Through
And
that.
so, like I feel like you're already sort of diving into uh that audience just a little bit. Like you're tapping into it, and maybe you need to tap a little bit harder. Man,
Yeah. You know who loves it when you tap a little bit harder, Brian?
my
Yes, you do.
dad. We're talking about a rebrand. We're just going full on
Yeah,
home.
full on. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Um, I don't think everyone's on board with that. I think that's not going to go over too well. All right, man. Let's. What do we got going on here? We got so much to talk about today, but we also have a few tips, man. So like right off the bat, we got Professor Lilith with the $5 tip, who says the Sunday multiplayer for November 11th is now posted. Choose among fan favorites: Walkabout Mini Golf, Galaxy Kart, and Pavlov. Guys, join our Discord. Click the link in the description below. Go vote on what game you want to play every single Sunday. There's another multiplayer game that we're playing. People constantly complain, oh, the lobbies are empty for these games. Well, fucking, we're here to take care of that,
Go on.
right? So go, vote, come, play. Everything's great. Jonathan Bloxham, what up, Johnny Roblox? Says, with the $5 tip, says, getting my PS5 Pro tomorrow. Supposedly, I am too. I haven't gotten my shipping notification. Have you, Wes? Did you order one? I know you did, right?
No, hell no, I didn't order one of those. I will when I have like a concrete, solid
Genie.
reason to spend $400 extra on top of the 300 or 400 extra dollars that the console already cost me. No, I've got other things that that money could be better spent on. So I'm going to need to be convinced.
Yeah.
And honestly, I want to be convinced. I wish I felt like it was worth it right now because I would have it. But there's just too little that has been said about it. Like there's some cool stuff, like the developers that have committed to supporting it and the ones that have been confirmed by Sony. Like that's all cool, but that's not enough anymore. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Jonathan Roblox says, getting my PS5 Pro tomorrow. Can't wait to see the graphical changes it'll have on PSVR2 and flat screen titles. What about you, Brian? I think I said this on Monday. I am less excited about the PS5 Pro than I've been for any console launch and probably the history of console launches because I'm kind of with you, Wes. I just I don't care. And also, Sony hasn't made me care yet because it does sound like PSVR 2 games aren't getting the PSSR support until sometime next year. It sounds like when they've put out the list of a sampling of 50 games that'll support the Pro, or have Pro support at launch, there's like No Man's Sky and Resident Evil 4 and Village, but no mention as to whether the VR versions of those will take advantage of it. And the guess is probably that they won't. And so the only game on there that was VR only was Kayak VR Mirage, which I can't wait to see how it looks. But honestly, when you look at what the developers of Arcanage are saying, Vitruvius, when they say that their game will have PS5 Pro support at launch, they're not talking about full PSSR support. They're talking about just like raw horsepower, and they're saying like the increase is going to be 15% resolution, 15% higher resolution if you're playing on the 90 frames mode, 25% 25% increase in resolution if you're playing on 60 reprojected to 120, and so like that's not a lot. Right, that's a minuscule amount for the $700 we're
It's
paying for this thing.
noticeable. I would call it noticeable.
Slightly, right? Like 15%. I'm always gonna play on 90 frames mode. So 15% increase in resolution. I don't even know if noticeable is something is the word I would use. And maybe it will be. Maybe I'll be surprised by what a 15% increase in resolution makes, but I don't think so off the top of my head.
I think for VR, before PSSR, right? This is excluding that. When that gets implemented, if it gets implemented widely into VR games, that could be a real game changer.
Right.
But in terms of like the gains from the hardware change here, for VR, I don't think resolution is going to be what the difference maker is. It's going to be getting rid of that reprojection. The one thing that people keep coming back to that ruins games for some people, that's going to go away now. We're going to get solid 90 on pretty much any game we want, or we should. Now, I don't think it'll be automatic out of the box. I do think that the code will have to be adjusted slightly to allow the game to run natively and turn the reprojection mode off. But that should be a 1-day patch. Like that should not be something that is difficult for developers to do. So I think it will be done pretty widely. So if you're someone who's super sensitive to reprojection, or like your favorite games, like a Horizon and Village, those are like your favorite games, and the reprojection just really, really bothers you, this could be a game changer for you.
Right.
The fact is, though, that most of the time the reprojection doesn't really bother me. It's minuscule in most games, and I could probably count on one hand the games that I think that it's actually a real problem in.
Yeah, I understand that. It's it's just one less thing for me. Actually, so just FYI, the reason that we're playing the Cube VR trailer is because Roblox in the chat reminded me. He's like, also, Cube VR is getting day one pro support. And we don't know when Subside is coming to PSVR2, but they said that there will be pro support for that. So it's good that that people are doing making these enhancements. Before there's going to be like widespread support. But yeah, reprojection is just one more thing that I notice, and even though it's sort of like anything else in VR, right? People talk about Murrow, people talk about, there's even jank. I've been playing Phasmophobia like nonstop. All of these things sort of fall by the wayside once you get really immersed. But it is yet another thing that sort of sticks in my head when I think about games. And when I do think about how Metro looks, I kind of think about reprojection. And even though it's not, do I think it's horrible? No. I thought Hubris was bad. I thought Call of the Mountain was bad. But is Metro bad? No. But it's still
Metro
there.
isn't bad. I don't want to get off on that conversation yet. That's the main event. But the reprojection, to answer your question, is no, it's not that bad in Metro. I was surprised because I heard so many people cite it as a problem before I played. And then I played it and was like, this is not bad. Like, what are you people seeing? But you people, sorry.
Let's tackle a couple more tips. We got Jim Perona. Jim Perona with the $10 tips as a virtual hug to anyone who needs it. My friend JP, JP and I played like 3 rounds, I think, of Phasmo yesterday, and I was like, here I am. I get to be the tour guide. Finally. Like, I'm finally playing with somebody who knows less about Phasmo than me. Usually, I'm the person that's like, can you please teach me everything you know because I'm fucking stupid. And that's what Phasmo has been like for me so far. But with JP, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. I finally get to teach somebody something. Bro, we lost 3 times in a row. We both died 3 times in a row. I was the worst protector of JP anybody could find, and I let all my friends die. And so, as much as I'm loving Phasmo, I'm still fucking terrible at it.
Are you at least getting that base knowledge down now to where you
Slowly.
have you understand what's happening and what to look for and how to use the instruments and all of that?
Slowly. Like there are definitely there are definitely moments where the ghost I'm hunting should have triggered like green dot evidence. And even though I had the green dot set up the entire time in the ghost room, I was like, well, why didn't I ever see that? Or like the floating orbs. And so like there are things that I just need to get better at. Things that I think I understand, but don't fully, I guess.
There are variations with different ghosts. Some of them, it'll tell you that like they won't present when you're with someone else, or they're more likely to present when you're with someone else. There are little like caveats like that they throw in there. So it could be something like that that's preventing you from getting that last bit of evidence that you need to confirm.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. We got Nibble the Game Cat with the 20 euros saying, also, sorry, I'm bad at this. So which do you prefer? Metro versus Into the Radius. I know different styles of game, but still, we're going to have a full-on Metro talk, but we don't need to go deep into it to answer a pretty surface level question. Wes, what do you prefer, Into the Radius or Metro?
Man, these are very different games. Like
Yeah.
like the worlds have a similar vibe to them, because it's this kind of post-apocalyptic Soviet survival situation with radiation, and like there's a lot of similarities in the world. The game, I feel like, couldn't be more farther apart.
Oh, agreed.
I think the Into the Radius is definitely a more complete game. I think more people would probably choose Metro over Into the Radius. I think the Metro game's a more gamer friendly game by a mile than Into the Radius. So I think you're going to ask 100 people and get 100 opinions on this. Um, I don't know, man. Like I feel like Metro's great right now. I feel like when I finish it, I'll be done with it. Whereas a game like Into the Radius probably won't have as high of highs as Metro has. But I feel like that's a game that's just going to always be fun forever. If I play it start to finish 10 times, it's still going to be fun to pick it up and do it again. So what's better? I don't know which one's better. They're both great, um, for different reasons.
For me, there's no question about it. Like Into the Radius, if it wasn't for a little bit of jank, I desperately wanted to give it like a low 9 if it was not a 9 rating. Like 8.9, I was clearly trying to say something, right? Being like, this game is almost greatness. It is greatness, but there are things keeping it from that. So, so for me, Into the Radius is the game I prefer, and I actually love that it challenged me to do something that I wasn't used to doing. You know, I've gotten comments from people saying, Brian, every time you talk about Into the Radius, you talk about how hard it is. And you should tell
Yeah.
people, don't scare them off. Tell people that that you can adjust the difficulty and that you can customize it to make it as easy as you want. Well, that's boring. I wanted to play the game as the game was. Sorry, sirens on my end. I wanted to play the game as the designers designed it for me to play. Right, and that's how I am with every game that I play. I want to play on the normal default difficulty because that should be the most balanced version of the game. And so when I played Into the Radius on the normal default difficulty, I was like, man, this is hard. This is hard, but I kind of love learning it all. I kind of love,
Yeah.
you know, discovering something new and challenging myself. And so that, and then and then Metro by comparison was a little bit of a cakewalk. And so
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a cakewalk. Yeah, I think if we're just going to compare like gameplay
Mm-hmm.
in a box, like it's Into the Radius hands down. Like the gameplay mechanics and system and everything that they've built out in terms of gameplay is vastly superior Into the Radius. And again, it's kind of a unicorn. It's one of the best games in VR in that regard.
Great.
But I'm a sucker for a good, well produced, story driven single player experience. And that's what Metro has that Into the Radius doesn't have. Into the Radius has lore. You're getting bits of story as you play through the campaign,
Mm-hmm.
but like the Metro game is like it's almost like a movie production from start to finish, and they have a very unique way of telling the story and misdirecting you at times. And um yeah, again, I love both of them for completely different reasons.
Agreed. Agreed. Man, story. I'll wait until we get into the actual Metro conversation to talk more about this,
Yeah.
because there's a lot to say. The Game Cat Andrew Ehrenreich with the $5 tip says, I'd like to dedicate this super chat to my Reformed Orthodox Rabbi Hugo. Everyone, please hit that like button. Do it for Hugo. I don't know what that means. I just know that we all love Hugo. That's very important. Hasid Mirza with the $5 tip says, No Man's Sky is confirmed to have improved lighting, ultra quality reflections, higher quality ambient occlusion across the board on PlayStation 5 Pro. So that is, Hasid keeps his ear to the ground on some of this stuff, so I trust him. So that is, when you say across the board, you mean in VR as well then? Because that's the question we have. But again, I should be getting, I mean, like I said, I didn't get my shipping notification for my PlayStation 5 Pro, but these are the kind of games I want to kind of check back to back on the PS5 and then PS5 Pro and see what kind of differences we're looking at. So I don't know if I'll have anything out tomorrow. Again, I don't even know if it's showing up tomorrow, but as soon as I'm able to, I will definitely spend some time doing some comparison videos. All right. What do we got next?
I think they'll let us capture 4K. They need to let us capture 4K footage. But they still don't let us do that. I mean, you can on flat, but it's like in a weird format.
You mean on
It'd
the
be cool.
console itself?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it'd be cool if we can get some like real, even 1440p social screen capture would be awesome.
Agreed. Yeah, if there's people in the chat who have their Pro, so I need to know. Okay, Hasib says these are VR specific upgrades. This is good, man. It's good. Again, Sony just doesn't seem to be talking much about PSVR2 in terms of the Pro. So it's good that these little things are kind of, I wouldn't say leaking out because they're not leaks, but you know what I'm saying. We're getting spurts of information in their wettest sense across the board here. So finding out what we should expect at launch before they give full PSVR2 support would be interesting. Oh, Rhodey's even got the link in the chat. This is good. So this is what happens, guys. I don't prepare for these shows, and then you guys inform me as we go. So really, I don't know. I think some of you guys should be up here instead of me. It'd be nice. All right, man. You know what? We do have some viewer takeover questions, but I'm curious to see how long some of these conversations go before we dive headfirst into those. So let's tackle a story that just broke today. And that's that we are getting Stranger Things VR on PlayStation VR 2. Wes, I don't know if you are familiar with this or not, but I do know that, what I remember is, and hoping that you can correct me if I'm wrong, what I remember is that when we first saw the trailer for Stranger Things VR, from Tender Claws, by the way, this is the developer behind VVR, virtual reality. So seemingly a great studio to make a VR game based on Stranger Things, because they're a little bit on the weirder side, or VVR was a little bit on the weirder side. I remember the trailer dropping for Stranger Things VR and then having it have a PlayStation VR 2 logo on it, right? And then suddenly the PSVR 2 logo disappeared from all future trailers and notices, and it just seemed like Meta bought it up as an exclusive for a limited time, or something happened because they just stopped talking about the PSVR 2 version until today. Do you know anything about that?
It sounds vaguely familiar now that I hear you say it. I don't explicitly recall them ever promoting PSVR2 support. But yeah, I mean, that sounds right to me. This game is largely known as a Quest 3 launch title, if I remember correctly. And a lot of excitement around it. You know, its announcement was coordinated with a new season, I think, of the show. And you know, approaching the Quest 3 launch, they announced a mixed reality mode for the title, which was, you know, the buzzword of the year that at that time. And there was a lot of excitement for this title when the Quest 3 headset launched.
Well, Patty Cat in the chat says, I heard it sucked on Quest. And so, I was actually, after we saw the announcement trailer today on the PlayStation YouTube channel, I was going to just buy the Quest version, play it for an hour, and then let you guys know my first impressions, at least, if it sucked, if it didn't suck. And then I saw that it's a $30 game, and I was like, man, for all the bad press this game has gotten, I'm not spending $30 to play it for an hour when I can just bring up Metacritic. And we can read through these reviews together and see if there's anything here worth getting excited about.
All right. So for what it's worth, yeah, I didn't play it either. I didn't play it when it came out, and it was largely due to the critical response of VR reviewers to the game. A lot of well-known people in our space ripped this game a new one when it came out, to the point that it killed all enthusiasm that I had to even try it. So I didn't even bother. And it kind of bums me out because I am a fan of Tender Claws.
Same.
Virtual reality is cool, and they did another title called The Under Presents, which was a really cool, really weird title that fit their brand really well. So yeah, I'm kind of disappointed with myself for writing this one off. And for what it's worth, in the subsequent weeks and months after we decided not to cover it, I've had regular players, not reviewers, just people in the community come and tell me, is it as good as we would have liked? No, but it's not terrible like they made it sound like it's terrible. It's just kind of okay. And if you're a fan of the show, you might actually really enjoy it. So I've heard both things here. I've heard that it sucks, and then I've heard that it's actually pretty good. So I don't know. I'd be interested to hear what Metacritic thinks on it.
Well, the Metascore says generally unfavorable, clocking in at 44 out of 100. And we do have some options as to whose reviews we want to read. I tend to want to go for the most negative, to be honest with you, just so we can see what that says. Oh wait, is this really the entire review? Metro Game Central says somewhere between non-interactive VR experience and a half-baked license game, the latest Stranger Things VR experience has neither a coherent storyline nor proper action. Oof. Upload VR with a 60 says Stranger Things VR is a commendable effort from Tender Claws and a nice example of VR's potential as a storytelling medium, letting you experience Hawkins and the Upside Down in a brand new way that expands on the Stranger Things universe. Unfortunately, all that is hindered by extremely repetitive gameplay elements and poor combat. If you're a fan of the TV show and you can look past the absence of the voice actors for some of your favorite characters, you'll likely enjoy your time exploring Vecna's twisted mind while traversing the Upside Down. Even if you've never seen the Netflix series and simply want to enjoy trippy and often spooky VR experiences, you might consider giving Stranger Things VR a look. I find that to be a strange take, Wes. There's plenty of weird and trippy things in VR that have received positive reviews. It's like, why would you want to play something that's not great and isn't doing its source material any justice, just to experience something weird and trippy?
Yeah, and that was, I think that was the biggest source of disappointment from most of us is, you know, having an average or below average VR title from a good studio is one thing, and that's bad enough. But tying a beloved franchise to it is harmful to VR because these are the sort of things that when people buy a new Quest 3 or a new headset, these are the first thing that they go for, right? They see their franchise, their favorite show, they
Yeah.
go in, they have a bad experience, and they don't say that Stranger Things sucks. They say VR sucks. Like VR took something that was awesome and made it crappy. When the fact of the matter is that it wasn't VR that did that; it was the studio that did that. Um, so yeah, rather unfortunate here that they didn't, or at least it appears that they didn't do as well as they should have with this title and the franchise. Um, and from the vibe that I'm getting from hearing these reviews that you're reading, they're making this sound like the Twilight Zone VR is what it sounds like to me.
It's
Except
so
it's
funny you said that. Right.
one episode instead of three, right? But it sounds like the same criticism that people have of that game.
It is funny that you said that because I saw Looper, I think, in the chat say that this game sounds weird, but maybe the kind of weird that Wes would enjoy.
Right.
And you definitely enjoy the Twilight Zone much, much more than I did.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I mean, it's not my favorite or anything, but I did enjoy it.
Not making a top 25 list, though, right?
Hell no. No.
Road to VR with a 55 out of 100 says Stranger Things VR is basically only for fans of the show who don't mind a 4-hour recap of the past 2 seasons set to some admittedly excellent surrealist art, which deftly nails the nightmarish vibe of the Upside Down. Although there are hints of engaging mechanics at the beginning, none of them ever come to a satisfying conclusion. Positioning Stranger Things VR is more of an extended commercial than truly a story worth telling. Boy, I'll tell you that I don't know if any of these people ever played the Silent Hill Stranger Things VR experience we got on PSVR1, but if they did,
Yeah, I remember that.
right, it was like legit 5 minutes long. It didn't even come to all territories. I don't even think if it came to the US. I think I had to like make a European account to download it, something along those lines. But oh man, so at least VR experiences or VR adaptations have come dramatically forward in the last few years. At least we're not getting just those 5 minute experiences anymore. If this is the worst we get, then that's an improvement at
Yeah,
least.
that always killed me, man. Even the good ones, like in the early days of VR, there would be these awesome, like audio visual VR experiences, and they would be 3 minutes.
Hmm.
Like, well, what's the point? Like, you just made me want to do something cool that now I can't go do. So,
Magic the Gamecat says it's like the C64 times licensed games mostly blow. Man,
LJN.
yeah, the NES days for sure. Um, I don't know. I bet I could find some licensed games on the C64 that like Friday the 13th. Did you ever play the Friday the 13th game on Commodore 64? Oh my god, it's
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things back then. I didn't have a Commodore, but my uncle did, and that's one of the few games that I remember playing on it was the Friday the 13th game.
Nice.
Yeah.
Terrifying. I tried to play it recently, emulated, and it totally holds up. You just walk around chopping everyone with an axe to see if they're Jason, and that's it. That's kind of it. But I still love it. All right, man. I think we should talk about Metro. Metro Awakening hit PSVR 2. Well, actually, you know what? For some people, it hasn't hit PSVR 2 yet. It hasn't even hit, unless you bought the deluxe edition, it doesn't actually come out till tomorrow. But the deluxe edition gave you a 2-day early access. Can we start at the beginning, Wes? What do you think of this practice? I know there were some like weapon skins or something else that the deluxe edition included for an extra $10. But what do you think of this whole practice of just charging people some extra money to play it 2 days early? Is that worth it, or is
I'm
that
good with
scummy?
it. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, it's not like they're charging a ton of money. It's a luxury. $10 if you have an extra $10 and you just can't wait to play. I would rather have that than a cosmetic any day. That's something tangible, something with value to me is that time. So I'm good with it. I think the best pre-order bonuses are discounts, which I think there was a discount tied to this as well,
Yep.
this deluxe edition or whatever that you had to buy.
Yeah, it was 10% off the deluxe edition. There was nothing off of the standard edition. So the extra $10 actually translates to just being an extra $5. So that's slightly better.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm all for it. I think it's a small price to pay, and a nice little nod to people, and a way for studios to monetize uh, in a market that is undervalued, right? Like we've had long discussions about how VR games are undervalued due to the competition and the big backlog and discounted titles and people's failure to come to grips with inflation. And it's hard for VR studios to make a profit on their work. So things like this, I think, is a great idea. It gives something to the gamers, it gives something to the studio, and yeah, I'm for it.
Yeah, it does sound like such a scummy business practice, like on the surface. But when you think about, we just saw, the Max Mustard developers say they had to lay off 10 people, which really sucks. And so, like, anytime that you can say, hey, maybe make a few extra $100,000 across the board, that might save a couple of people's jobs at the studio. Just by offering this early access deal that is completely optional. And it's like, you know what? Like when it comes to VR studios at this point and seeing what the struggle is like, um, I I don't really have a problem with it as long as it's completely optional, which of course it was.
Yeah, and you can always wait. People get now to have 2 days of opinions before they decide if they want to drop the money on the game. I mean,
True.
yeah, win-win.
Yep. Uh, but enough of the pre-order stuff, man. I know that you've been playing this for the last couple days, I think. how far have you gotten? What are you thinking so far? My review went up yesterday, so I think most people know what I think, but I want to take some time and get your impressions.
I've played 4 or 5 hours of it altogether. Now, a good deal of that was replaying the first bit through a few times on different platforms. So I'm probably less than halfway through the game. But my impressions overall right now are very, very good. Like, it isn't exactly what I was expecting.
What were you
In a, w-
expecting?
well, I mean, I don't want to say it, but I was expecting something. I was expecting probably a little bit more complexity in terms of the gameplay mechanics. I mean, this is a pretty straightforward, um, like in terms of the action, it's like an arcade shooter almost. Like it's a basic first person VR shooter. Like there's no innovation in the action gameplay in this game at all. Like it's it's basic in terms of the combat, uh, which surprised me a little bit. I thought that there would be a little bit more to it, so to speak.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you. I think I actually leaned heavier into that opinion in my original script for the review, basically calling this like the best. And I think I did say it at one point in the review that this is the best Arizona Sunshine I've played so far. Right?
Right.
It's like Arizona Sunshine with way more story, with a Metro skin over it. But I did myself a disservice, I think, by playing Metro 2033 before this game, because then I saw all the things that Metro fans are going to be looking for, and Metro is slightly more like Metro proper is slightly more than Awakening offers. Right? There's some more varied environments, some more enemies, and I think there's enemies in 2033 that people are going to be looking for and not see and be disappointed. And what, are you serious? You couldn't get those in there? And then also hitting topside and traversing the surface area. And then the weapon upgrades, right? And all of these things I think would have made it feel more Metro than Awakening feels. And what I didn't know until today, I saw some people talking about crafting. Is there crafting in the game? And I was like, no, it's not crafting. Why would you? Metro Exodus introduced crafting.
Mm.
So if people who are even more familiar with the series and played all three games before playing this are going to miss out on even more of these mechanics that would keep it from, again, I'm fine with it being a straightforward shooter
Yeah.
with lots of story elements, but there are things missing here.
Yeah, for sure. It's ironic too because um, the tagline for this game in the last month or so, as so often happens with these high profile releases, was that this is the next Half-Life Alex, right? People kept invoking Half-Life Alex when they were talking about this game. Um, the reason why that's ironic is because the exact same thing is true of Half-Life Alex.
Yeah.
Like Half-Life Alex is a pretty basic arcade shooter in terms of what you're actually doing in the game. You've got 3 weapons, and while they are upgradable, it's just they're minimally upgradable. Like you can put sights on them and larger clips and things like that. But you have a low variety of weapons, a low variety of enemies,
Yeah.
and a lot of the same environments. But what you have on top of that is extremely polished, uh, like gameplay and super high production value, like a beautifully designed and rendered world and world class storytelling. Um, so it's a basic but very, very polished game. So while people will say, it doesn't have XYZ, so how could it stand up to Half-Life Alex? Well, I mean, Half-Life Alex didn't have those things either. Like, I feel like this game is probably to Metro 2033 as Half-Life Alex is to Half-Life 2. Um, but for whatever reason, people are going to criticize Metro, where the Half-Life can do no wrong.
Yeah. No, it's true. I feel like most VR games are becoming very Half-Life Alex. We're getting to a place where uh, they're all Half-Life Alex ish. Um, so no, so I mean, other than the stuff we talked about, no real complaints, right?
No, no, I'm actually enjoying it quite a lot. Uh, I'm immersed in the story, man. And I do enjoy the gameplay. Like we can sit here, and it might sound like we're being critical of the gameplay by calling it simple, but sometimes simple is good, man. Like, um, simple is only bad if the gameplay's boring. But if you have something that works and you've polished it to the point that it feels good to do in VR, and especially on the PlayStation console with all of the extra immersive bits that the platform brings through the haptics and the triggers and all of that stuff, um, it's a lot of fun to play. Like I enjoy the combat sequences. I'm playing on hardcore, so you
Nice.
know, keeping keeping enough ammo to make it through is not easy. Like I haven't fully ran out yet, but typically the way the loops have worked is I'll accumulate some ammo. I'll have a situation arise. I'll fight my way through the situation, and by the time I survive, I'm out of ammo. So like I never have like a surplus, which for Vertigo is a that's a big improvement. Um, but it's fun to play. The combat sequences have all been fun. You know, if this were only a shooter, start to finish, then it might get stale. But the pacing of the game is great, so that you're not constantly just battling all the time. There are stealth sequences, there are exploration sequences. A lot of it's timed because of exposure to elements and things that will kill you. Um, and there's a real kind of level up here in terms of like VRAF stuff. Whether you're talking about how you charge your flashlight or the way that you open doors, or
Yeah.
there's a lot of little things that they're doing in this title that we haven't really seen done this way before. So yeah, no, I think it's a highly polished game, and while they're not really reinventing any of the wheel here, I think that they've done such a good job with kind of this known formula that I'm really having fun with it.
Yeah. No, known formula. Perfect wording because it is a step forward for Vertigo's known formula.
Yeah.
And I saw Markio in the chat say, also, shout out, thank you, Markio, for letting me know that there's a problem with my mic. I've been having audio issues for a while. And I do need to, I got a new mixer, so hopefully I can sort all of that out before the next Gamescast. Thank you. But I saw Markio say this is definitely Vertigo's best game so far. And I think I agree. As far as like,
Oh, yeah.
the action stuff goes, they did Seventh Guest, which was amazing. But as far as like, I feel like they're taking everything they learned and sort of implementing it into each game, and then sort of adding just a little bit here and there. I mean, since After the Fall came out on PSVR2, we've been a huge fan of Vertigo's weapon handling. Haptics for each weapon feel great. The adaptive trigger support is great. This is all stuff they carried with them into the Arizona Sunshine remake, into Metro, and now Metro, as Wes was just saying, it has tons of these VRAF elements. It gets a little bit old to have to crank your headlamp to charge it up every minute or two, or to charge doors up with the same crank, which I honestly maybe I would have had more fun with if they had implemented haptics or adaptive trigger stuff into those things, into the cranking, because Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge had tons of weird gadgets to use
Well,
that should
there's
have gotten old.
there's a lot of that stuff in here. I don't specifically remember with the crank itself, but I remember lots of little things like drinking from the bottle. You could feel the bubbles going up through the bottle while you're drinking, or when you turn the key to start the engine on your cart, like
Hmm.
that vibrates in a very realistic manner. Opening a lot of the heavy doors, opening stuff like that. There's a lot of really good haptic work in this game. Um, uh, It's funny. I think some of the things that they kind of did the best job on are things that most people aren't going to realize that they notice. Um, for example, the backpack in this game. I love the backpack in this game. It's such an
Yeah.
evolution of the floating window in front of your face with circles in it. Instead, you've got this thing that instead of always facing you, that you can access all sides by twisting your hand, just like you would in a real life backpack, and you just kind of hang your things all over it. Um, I think that that's an awesome new thing that I would like to see more studios implement, and it's definitely a step up from the one circle on each wrist that Vertigo most recently used. So there's lots of little things like that I feel like I could point to that are just exceptional. Um, I think the sound design in this game is fucking exceptional. I think it's
Mm.
one of the best examples of sound design that I've experienced in a VR game. I absolutely love the way they've done the sound in this game. Um,
Yeah.
I'll shut up. There's
No,
a
no,
bunch
no.
of little things like that I could cite that are relatively small things on their own, but taken as a whole, really up the immersion level. And I think that that's why I'm really digging this game so much, is because I find it to be very immersive.
Man, sorry. As much as I love the conversation that we're having, Wes, I'm totally distracted because we lost the chat an hour ago. As soon as we brought up C64, we lost those fuckers. Like literally an hour ago. Beard of Power's been trying to figure out some like C64 game for 30 minutes now. And all I can think of is it the Castles of Dr. Creep? Because I was just playing that the other day, Broderbund game way back in the day. That's all I can think of. I don't think it's someone you're thinking of, but I had to get it off my head so that we could continue the Metro conversation. God damn it. Um, no, you're absolutely right, man. The audio design is incredible, and it's something. It's sometimes you just don't notice while you're playing it because it's just part of the experience. But when I was going back and looking through gameplay footage, I was just clicking through, and it didn't matter where I landed. I was either listening to great voiceovers or some awesome ambient background music, or just a great soundtrack, something that was happening, or that the creepy I think I said erratic violins to talk about the music that plays when the spiders show up. It's
Right.
just it's all good, and even the voiceovers from like NPCs or guards or whatever. It's just all good.
It's
So
balanced. It's balanced in a more realistic way than almost any other game, because a lot of games will have good like spatial sound effects. So we have we're in this underground facility here. There's all sorts of things happening. It's a very living space. So you'll have lights buzzing, and you'll have broken electrical wires crackling, and there's going to be steam coming out of pipes over here, and there's an engine running over there. Now that's pretty common for a big budget VR game to have stuff like that be spatially accurate. What is not common, and I mentioned this yesterday, um, is that when you have dialogue going on in these spaces in a typical VR game, you'll just hear the dialogue like the person's right in your face or talking into your head. Whereas in Metro, it's hard to hear these people sometimes because of all of the stuff that's going on around you. Just like in real life, if there's a lot of ambient noise going on, you have to really stop and listen and pay attention to what the person's saying. And again, a relatively small thing, but it's those differences that kind of make or break whether or not you're immersed in a game or not. It's things you
right.
don't think about, things you don't realize. Um, but luckily, after playing for a while, it dawned on me why the dialogue parts were so effective and engaging for me. It was because it felt like a real conversation almost, even though I wasn't talking.
Kill artist. Oh, actually, and please, Markio, especially if you're listening, does this sound any better? Because I just switched something over that should have been switched over, but I don't know if this helps or not. Let me know. I saw Kill artist in the chat say I watched Ian's review from Eurogamer and he complained about heavy Mura. Did you or Wes notice that? I listen. I Whereas I'm the reprojection guy and notice reprojection constantly, and it can irritate me and distract me for the first 20 or 30 minutes of a game. Murr is something that doesn't affect me that much. Like it's something I can recognize when I see it, and then for whatever reason, it just doesn't. When I hear other people complain about it, it does not seem like audio's
Yeah.
good. Much better.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. It's just so, yeah. Do you see Murrah the way that I see Murrah? Do you see like where are you at? When people complain about Murrah with this game, I noticed it in a few places, but it was never an issue for me.
No, I definitely notice it all the time. It's definitely this is the one affliction of the game on PlayStation. I came in expecting very distracting ghosting from reprojection. I did not find that. I found that to be negligible. But the Mira is real. There are lots of situations in the game that heighten it. Obviously, the fog plays a lot into it. Um, and you do get used to it after a while. It's not game breaking or anything, but it's definitely a legitimate criticism. And it's not a big problem in lit areas, but there are parts of the game where you have to turn the lights out and stealth in the dark. And it's like a cheesecloth in those sections, man. Like, it's not the worst I've ever seen. It's not like Kayak VR at night bad, but it is very, very noticeable all the time for me. And I'm not particularly sensitive to it. It isn't something that normally bothers me a whole lot, even when I do notice it. But I will say that it is pretty heavy in this game. So, yeah.
One thing you did say in relation to the Murrah, which is interesting, there is so much haze or whatever you want to call it, just like this. It's like fog that's just kind of floating around the metro. Everywhere you go, it seems like every room, if you look out into the distance, the end of any tunnel, there's just haze just kind of floating there in the air. And I found that to be very interesting for the choices of lighting that they used. If there was a green light above a door, then that whole section, like air and all, was just bathed in this green, and it just kind of gave the whole thing a surreal look to it to some degree. Obviously, these are very realistic type environments, but the lighting felt very surreal, and I just thought it was
Yeah.
an interesting change from what we were experiencing in other Vertigo games.
Yeah. I love the art direction of this game. I think that this world and the way it looks and feels is amazing. It's very unique.
Yeah.
Um, I've seen people be critical of the fact that most of the shadows and lighting are baked. It's not real time, but you wouldn't know it just running through the environments. They've done a really good job of painting that picture for everyone, and the flashlight is dynamic, so there is that. Um, but while it is baked lighting, it's very meticulously done, it feels like. It seems natural when you're looking at it. And beyond that, beyond just the general, you know, look of the environments and the lighting, I love the effects in this game. Like the visual effects of, like, when you're about to die from radiation, for example, or when you're taking on a lot of damage and your peripheral shows that you're about to die, or when you've had your mask on too long and it's getting condensation on it. Like, there's a lot of, again, pretty small things in a box by itself, but the um the whole of which makes for a pretty compelling and unique package here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the art direction in general of this game is excellent.
Which kind of leads us to the title of the video. I want to spend a few minutes talking about this. Um, when you're bringing a game, an established franchise, into VR, like Vertigo just did with Metro, um, do you think it's fair that gamers expect the VR version to have all the accoutrements, to be as full fledged, to be the length of the games of the flat screen versions. The should have all the mechanics of the flat screen versions. Should have the variety of weapons and enemies of the flat screen versions. Do you think what do you think is fair for gamers to expect when playing something like Metro? And I want to
Well,
hear
I
from you
mean,
guys in the chat too, so please chime in.
you would hope at this point that people would begin to get realistic expectations and be experienced enough to know what to expect. Now, at that, you know, at the same time, um, I guess yes and no is kind of the answer to the question. That I don't think that we're at the point where it's fair for VR gamers to expect their VR games to be on the same level of a flat game, which has, um, the technology itself has 5 decades of development of techniques and optimization behind it versus less than 1 decade since our technology started. Beyond that, while there's 5 times the experience making flat games, there's what 50 times the budget on those flat games as well versus less money, less time, less team, new technology. Now, with that said, while I think it's definitely unfair to expect parity, um, I do think that it's fair to expect games to trend in that direction. Like I think that it's absolutely fair that now that we're firmly into the third generation of VR tech, that we should expect our games to start to evolve in that direction a bit more, right? Like so while I'm not critical of a game like Metro for being pretty basic and still, you know, perfecting what the 2016 formula was for VR for a VR game, I can understand why some people, especially people who see that Metro franchise on there, would be disappointed that this isn't more like an official Metro game, even if that is an unrealistic expectation for anyone who's been in VR for a while and knows how these things typically turn out. So I'm somewhere in the middle here, man. Like I think it's completely unreasonable to be demanding parity right now or anything close to parity with big budget flat games.
Right.
But I do think that people uh, should be vocal about their expectations that we want to see progression from generation to generation to generation.
Yeah, and I agree. If we were getting charged $60 or $70 for this game, and then not getting what a full Metro game entails, I think there'd be a lot of disappointment. Um, but this is a prequel, and so scaling back on a little bit on the length of the game, not very much, but scaling back a little bit on the weapons and the enemies, and then a little bit on the mechanics as well. It sort of fits in that whole prequel realm for me. Um, that said, I mean, I'd obviously rather pay $70 for a game and get the game that we all really, really want. Um, but I think the cats have better opinions here than even I do here. So let me
So
grab
I
some.
think what we're seeing here now is that the last 2 years of like the highest end VR games that we've gotten have proven that it's doable now, right? Like people have played Village now. People have played um other Batman just came out. Like people now know that it is possible with enough time and investment and a big enough team
Right.
that these games are possible in VR. I don't think people think too much though about the type of investment that goes into those games. Like, games like Village, obviously most of the budget's behind the flat version. Games like Batman, they're not going to make a dime on, they're going to lose money on that. It's a special case of Meta investing in launching a headset and having a good pack-in title for it. Um, we can't expect VR studios to be willing to lose money to push the platform forward, That's just not how it works. They have to be able to make a profit.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why, like what old Darth says, is it's a hope, but understand that the VR player base is not large enough to support for new VR games, which is why hybrid games support is so desirable. And that's again, this is we expected this to be very much a transitional generation when it came to VR. But we also thought that hybrid games were going to be a bigger part of that discussion, part of our lives. We thought that maybe more AAA flat screen games were going to get the VR treatment, and I think that's the only way we can expect to sort of get the massively big budget, full fledged games that we're looking for.
There's the only
And
way it's
so,
going to happen anytime soon, right? Like we could wait for the natural progression of things, which will likely take another 15 years before we start getting these types of games, or we can start doing hybrids and making so that there is no distinction between a flat game and a VR game. There's just games, and you can play them how you want. You know.
yeah. Foolish Optimist says not everything translates well. Plus, we often want levels of interactivity exceeding the flat versions. Something has to give. I got to say, man, like Metro was the perfect game to bring into VR because if you play the flat screen versions, all the button presses and everything that you're doing to interact with that world, to interact with your items, there's a button to wipe your face mask. Like it's like a game that just desperately always wanted to be in VR, and then Vertigo said, "Fine, fine, fine. We'll do it for you." Um, and I gotta say, man, I saw Spooky Yuki saying it in the chat earlier. That gas mask, awesome. You put that thing on your face, and it's maybe my favorite headset haptic of all time because you put it on, it just goes thunk, and you feel just thunk
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in the headset, and then you pull it off, and it's like foom, almost like a suction cup or something, right? You're pulling it off, and you feel that thunk again on it, and it's these tiny things that make the PSVR2 versions of these games awesome to play, like these little minute details, and I absolutely love that stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe some things don't work in VR, but everything they did here works. And I've played enough games with crafting in them, enough games with with weapon upgrades in them to know how they could have done it here. This stuff does work in VR, but it's a time commitment, and I can only imagine how many extra 7, 8, 9 months it would have put on the development team in order to get those things up and running. And I'm sure that they, just couldn't make that happen.
Right. That's why it's an 8.5 and not a 9.5. But just because it's not a 9.5 doesn't mean it's not a great game. Um,
Yeah.
right?
I
Yeah.
mean, I was surprised, Wes, or I should say, not surprised, but there they were anyway. People who saw 8.5 or 8.4, what the fuck did I give it? And we're like, well, sounds like I'll wait for a sale, which is again fine. Like, it's your money, spend it however you want to. But man, I had to like rewatch my review and go, did I make it sound like you should wait for a sale? I think but yeah, if anything less than a 9 is like for a lot of people, which is, it is what it is, man. Like
Yeah.
we're not here to tell people how to spend their money. We're here to tell people, what great games you can play on this awesome headset that you have. That's the end
Yeah.
of our job.
I feel like it's kind of crazy though, because I feel like there's less great games this year than there was last year. Although there are like definitely some really high highs this year.
Yeah,
Um, so I feel like the must buys this year, people should pick them up, and I feel like this is one of them.
totally, totally agree. Wes, let's tackle a couple of tips, and then I meant to do this at the beginning of the show, but I want to hear about things that are going on in Virtual Strangers because my least favorite thing, Wes, is seeing a notification that you're doing something on your channel, and then me having something to do in real life, and not be able to come check it out. So, the Marvel Sod with the $50 tip says I pre-ordered Metro. So I was able to play last night. Based on what Brian and Wes are saying about gameplay, I feel I am not good at this game. I suck at manual reloading. Regardless, I'm getting a bit better and enjoying the game. Stay awesome, dude. Thank you so much for your generosity. I listen. I feel like I've been saying it a lot recently to the point where I have to sort of check myself because a lot of the games I've been playing recently, my reviews are all starting to sound the same. This game's kind of easy. Max Mustard, I thought, was way too easy. Arizona remake was way too easy. This was way too easy, and so I don't. As somebody who really desperately wants to play the version that most people are going to play and review that version, part of me is like, can I just fucking switch this shit to hard? Is anyone going to care? Like, just be like, oh, I played this through on hardcore mode. Like, and I don't think I'm getting better as a gamer. I think developers are scaling back the difficulty.
Oh, that's
Um,
definitely true. Like I played this on hardcore, and this feels like normal. This is the I feel like this is the experience that people should be having with the game. They're nerfing it for people for whatever reason now. Like used to, if you did something called hardcore or nightmare, it was literally hardcore or a nightmare. It was something you
right.
never wanted to do. Certainly, not a place where that you want to start. But most of the time, I default to the hard level now, and I almost never regret it.
Nice. Um, give it some time, Marvel Sod. I will say that there were certain weapons in this game, like the shotgun, which I think is very very cool. The way that the the version of the shotgun that they used from 2033 is very cool. In the way that you load in the shotgun shells, and I just really really enjoy it. I haven't had any problem with the manual reloads. So just practice a little bit, and hopefully you'll get it, and then it won't be nearly as difficult. Mischievous Markio, the Underground Game Cat with the level 2 membership. Guys, don't forget you can join the membership here and get free. They're not free. You're paying for them by being a member, but free uh, super chats, which is great. Just like Mischievous Markio did. Said Metro is a great mashup of what they learned so far. Vertigo earned my trust, so I took the plunge and did the deluxe edition. Glad I did. Excellent. I am very, very happy, Wes, to say that Vertigo, who was sort of a studio that not on my shit list, but a studio that I was just uncertain of when it came to the future of VR. Are these guys going to have what it takes to compete? But as we're seeing, they're slowly evolving, and every game is getting better and better. I feel very optimistic about Vertigo games in the future in the VR space.
Me too. I think they're one of the elite studios right now. Like, um, I think we have like five, six, seven like big time studios that can be counted on to do a pretty good job with the game, and I feel like Vertigo is one of those studios.
Yep. Now, the next studio that needs to prove something to us, I believe, is Survios, right? Not because they ever released
Hmm.
shitty games. They never did. Their games they just started getting very basic and arcade like and shallow the further they went. And now that they've had 4 years to develop Alien Rogue Incursion, the question is was it worth the 4 years? I personally felt like Survios never got better than Raw Data and Sprint Vector. Those were my two favorite games by them. Those were the first two games by them, and I really really hope that we are that the Alien Rogue Incursion is going to give me some Raw Data vibes and give us some slightly deeper gameplay than maybe they're showing off so far. You're just running around getting key
Yeah,
cards and shooting aliens or xenomorphs.
I think that I think that we're probably not going to get that. And I don't just mean with aliens. I mean with most of the soon to come big budget releases that everyone are looking forward to. I think that we're going to get more games like Metro that are really polished and really immersive, and really kind of perfect older like gameplay systems and loops. I think that's going to kind of be the trend for the next couple months, personally.
Yeah, and I think something that I've said on the show numerous times is that I just want to play an Alien game in VR, and so even if it is straightforward, if I get to I get to use all these gadgets that we're familiar with from the Alien franchise, and I get to go one on one with xenomorphs in the game, uh, and if it's even slightly scary, I think I'm going to be pretty happy. Like I'm not expecting the world from Survios, but I think I'll be happy with a 7 out of 10.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, I think it's going to be very similar to this Metro game. It's just going to have different skin on it. Um, you know, I think in terms of what's actually here and what the strengths of the game are and what the gameplay is, it might not be as story heavy. I think that the Alien game will probably be a little bit more action and a little less story. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that we're going to largely have the same formula and the same high points for both titles.
Um, I saw some people in the chat. Fringe says Arcanage is the one to watch. I agree. I think Vitruvius is going to blow it out of the water. Alex says, I hope Alien has sprint vector controls. More importantly, does it have Creed controls where you have to do the California Raisins dance just to move around the ring? That shit was craziness. Anyway, Wes, I think, oh shit, we got one more tip. Sorry, my bad. And then we'll get on to the 4-minute challenge, which hopefully you picked a game out for. If not, oh, you have. Okay. Bearded Power 666 with the level 2 membership says, Ghouls, Brian. It was Ghouls. Another reason to love the cats. This has been on my mind for literally 30 years. Ghouls? Hold on. I'm not going to be happy until I look up C64 Ghouls. What the fuck is. No, not Ghouls and Ghosts. God damn it. Ghouls images. Oh, man. It really just wants to show me. Oh, here it is. Oh, that does look like Pac Man with legs. See, I was paying attention. That is so weird. I don't know if I know this one. No, there were thousands of C64 games though. So if I had known it, probably would have been pretty impressive. I would have been just as shocked as when I found out that Wes was familiar with the Friday the 13th game on C64.
Yeah, that was the one. If you had said any other one, I would have been like, "What?"
So random.
Yeah.
So random. I love it, man. I love it. All right. Awesome. Dude, let's play a little 4-minute challenge and we'll get out of here. If you guys don't know, I've got 4 minutes and you guys have 4 minutes to ask Wes as many yes or no questions as we possibly can to figure out what PSVR1 or PSVR2 game he's got in mind. Are you guys ready? They all said yes collectively. Excellent. Well, I'm also ready. So let's fucking do this thing.
Let's do it.
Nice. On my mark, get Des and go. Is this on PSVR1?
No.
What? It's a PSVR2 game. Is it on other headsets as well as PSVR2?
Yes.
Is it on Quest?
Yes.
Okay. Is it tied to any existing IP?
Yes.
Games, movies, otherwise. Yeah, okay. Existing IP. Do you shoot guns in this game?
Um,
Not Zombieland. It's not Walking Dead.
I mean, there's not. They're shooting.
Okay. Okay. Is it made by Vertigo Games?
No.
Okay. That takes care of that, Mark. Let's see. What do we got? Okay, people are asking if we talked about it today. Did we talk about it today?
I don't think so. I don't remember talking about it today.
Is it a game that could have or should have or did appear on our top 25 list last time?
I don't think it did. I think it very well could have at one point and might have. If we did one in the proximity of around when it came out, it probably would have at least been on one of our lists.
Okay. Cool. Marky is wondering if it has full locomotion.
I wouldn't call it that. I mean, you can move wherever you want freely.
Okay. It's not full locomotion, but you can move wherever you want freely.
I mean,
listen. I appreciate you going that far with it. Does it have multiplayer support?
No.
Okay. Are you in a vehicle at all, or can you control vehicles?
Yes, you do control vehicles. And that's what I meant by you can move around freely, but not exactly.
Okay. But there's no multiplayer, so it can't be Galaxy Kart Looper. Vehicle. I'm trying to think of even any games with vehicles. That's crazy that like my mind just broke down at that point. Okay, single player. It's on PSVR 2. It's on Quest. You can move wherever you want to because you have in a vehicle. Wow. Is this vehicle on the ground? Or does it? I mean, for a majority of the time that you're playing, is this vehicle on the ground?
No, no, not for the majority of the time. It's not.
Okay. Are you are you in a uh, are you in space?
Yes.
Ooh. PSVR2 game where you're flying around in space. Is this made by Strange Game Studios?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say I didn't remember Awesome Asteroids being on Quest. Um, do people call this a real-time strategy game?
I think that a lot of people would call it a real time strategy.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Fringe. I kept calling it Fringe. I don't know why. Fringe. Oh, sorry, I'm out of time. Is it Ghost Signal? Stellaris? Sorry.
It is Ghost
Ah,
Signal Stellaris. Good job, Fringe. Yeah,
seriously.
based on an IP. That was the big clue here is that it's a space game based on an IP on PSVR 2. Good
Dude,
job.
if it wasn't for Fringe, I wouldn't have gotten that. We were down to the last few seconds, and I was just fucking around. And so I'm sure somebody gave it to me before that. Maybe they didn't. Ace Gamer seems to be saying he did.
Like
But
I wouldn't call it a top 25 game, but I remember you were really high on this game when it came out.
I was super high on this game when it came out. I gave it a 9 out of 10. It was all I wanted to play for like 2 weeks straight. Um, so yeah, I honestly think that I honestly think it probably deserves a spot on the next top 25 as well. Then, dude, the next top 25 is going to be so crazy, right?
Yeah,
Because
it's easy to say that like a game deserves to be on the top 25 because it's good, but the
yeah,
fact of the matter is that we've got 75 good games. So like,
yeah,
what do you do?
yeah, yeah. Oh man, no, all good. It's gonna be really interesting. Actually, the next top 25 you guys see from Without Parole may not be a top 25, and we may not do a top 25 debate because those things fucking take 4 to 7 hours to do. And honestly, we're coming up to the holidays, and I know that Wes is going to be busy with the end of year stuff, and everybody's going to be busy with like real life stuff. So my goal is to get a top 50 out, just that I put together myself. Uh, just for people, for you guys, of course, who are interested, but also we're hoping that there's going to be a lot of new people getting a PSVR2 headset for Christmas or for the holidays, and so want to make sure that we have like an extensive list of all the greatest games. But as you said, Wes, some are still going to get left off because we have like 75 must have games, and
Right.
there's no way. There's just no way to make that happen properly. So maybe 25 honorable mentions.
100 must own PSVR 2 games.
Oh man, if I had the time, I guess if I started right now, I could probably finish by February. Crazy. All right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Oh, dude, no, stop. Time out. Wes, this was supposed to be the first thing I asked you because even before the show, I wanted to know motorcycle lawnmower on my end. I don't what the fuck is that? I want to ask you what's going on with virtual strangers because you actually had some interesting streams and I was not able to attend. And so please tell people why they should be subscribing to Virtual Strangers. Link in the description, and tell me what you've been covering over there because
So yeah,
I've missed
it's
out.
been a good few weeks. It's been a good few weeks. Thanks for noticing, Brian. Like, of course, a couple episodes ago, we had our developer uh, commentary edition of our full playthrough of Here They Lie. If anyone hasn't checked that out yet, it's fucking awesome. Go check that out. That group of dudes from Eyes Out are amazing, and shout them out. We went from there and covered Batman primarily. We did a couple of titles. Um, Batman was the big one on Quest.
Are you
Great
in the
game.
camp that you in the camp that this is like possibly VR game of the year?
Yes.
Because I think I'm in that camp.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that I think it's a favorite for Quest Game of the Year, and I think it's a contender for overall VR Game of the Year.
Nice.
So yes, I love it. I think it's great. And if it weren't for games like Metro, I would have already finished it. But Metro came. Um, so yesterday, a special episode for us. Not only because Metro came out, but Roots is back. Roots has been gone for like 2 months. And we didn't know when or if he was ever going to come back. Well, I had an idea he would eventually come back. But I thought it would be next year, and it's not. Roots is back. He's ready to get back in the swing of things. So everyone that misses his critical take on VR games, miss him no longer. Roots is back full time now, and
I know
he'll be
Roots
back
isn't
on
watching,
episodes for him.
but if you are, welcome back, dude.
Yeah, no, he got a lot of love last night when he showed up because we didn't announce it. We just let him come in and surprise everyone.
Nice.
Everyone was very happy to see Roots. But no, we talked about Metro. We talked about A Quiet Place, The Road Beyond, which is like a flat game, a new flat stealth game that's based on the A Quiet Place film franchise. And it might be the most hardcore stealth game that I've ever played, dude. It is so tedious playing this thing, and even flat, but in VR. Um, it's one of these games. Well, I'm sure you've seen the movie, right? You've seen A Quiet Place, and you know what
I've
the
seen all
premise
three
is.
of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't make a sound at all.
Yeah.
So what that does in the context of this game is where a typical stealth game would have you opening up a grate to slowly crawl through a vent to get around the monster. In this game, you have to slowly crawl up to the grate, and you have to go to the left screw and slowly turn the left screw and slowly turn the right screw. And everything that you're doing, opening drawers, opening doors, everything is so like ultra sensitive to making any noise that it completely immerses you in the game. Like you have to get locked in on it, or that monster is going to be on you and kill you. So while this is what I said on the show yesterday, while at no point during the gameplay did I stop and say, "Wow, this is fun." Um, I never played it for less than 3 or 4 hours at a time. Like it grabbed me every time I was in there because it's such a good looking game and sounding game. But the story is top notch, and there's some really cool like design elements going on here. For example, sound cover. So if you were in a normal stealth game where you're hiding from enemies that can see you, you might jump in the grass for cover so that the enemy can't see you. In a game like this that's all sound based, you're looking for ambient noise. Areas where like there's water running or things like that, you can go to those areas and have cover from the monster because you have the opportunity to make a little bit of noise without being heard. Stuff like that. There's all kinds of little nuances to it, but it's really a great game. Much better than I expected it to be, and we had a lot of fun playing it and talking about it.
Yeah, man, I'm so happy that this turned out to be good, that you're playing it in VR. Because I saw the trailer for this and I was like, man, this kind of looks like a cash grab. Like it did not look very appealing to me. But the description you're giving it, I mean, obviously you got to be in the right mood to play something like this. But
Yeah,
oof, man, sounds intense. And a little PSVR2 support. Come on, guys, make it happen.
yeah, it'd be great, wouldn't it?
It would be.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome, dude. Well, keep up the good work. Say hi to Roots for me. And guys, make sure you show some Wes and Roots and Eric love by clicking the link in the description below and going subscribe to Virtual Strangers. Because we just covered PSVR2 over here. We're fucking lazy, dude. That's all we do is PSVR2. We're so lazy. Can't even manage to cover multiple headsets. But these guys, everything. Everything. So if you plugged your PSVR2 into a PC recently, you're going to need to watch some 3 or 4 hour Virtual Stranger streams. Nice.
Word. That's what we do. That's how we do it.
We go YYZ THC TV with the $10. Canadian $10 says, with corporate game review sites being paid off and not leaving honest reviews, games and developers alike need people like the both of you to give genuine opinions and solid standards to the world.
We're shills. What are you talking about?
Right? I mean, I only cover PSVR2. What a shill I am. Right? I'm such a shill that PlayStation fucking blacklisted me, and I'm like, I'm still gonna shit for you. Thank you. I'm glad. There's always going to be people out there who think that we're paid off or that we're lying or for some who knows what reason. But as Wes always says, I always say, all we have is our integrity, right? If we tell you that a game is good or that a game is bad when it's not, it's not like we have special access to those games. Everyone can play them, and so you buy a game, you spend $40 or $50 because we told you something's good, and then you're like, I'm never gonna fucking watch those guys again because they straight up lied to me, right?
And you
And
know
I
what
hope
else we do? While I may be working in the industry, if I cover a game that's from a client, I say it on the show or the content. That's
but
not always so, is it, Brian? Not everyone does that.
I I I I really want to say I know not of what you speak, but I know exactly of what you speak, and I'm not going to say anything more about it. Dude, this is improv group. This isn't drama group. What are you doing? I'm
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
No,
Shouldn't have
no,
brought
no,
that here.
no. I love it, man. I love the honesty, and we're always going to be honest with you. And I think, and I like when people hold us accountable and say, man, I played this and this is fucking terrible, right? And I'm like, please elaborate. Like, I want to know more. Like, I want Without Parole to be a place where people can speak their mind. I want, like, I'm not gonna like censor you in the comments because you say that my review's wrong. Like, I want that to be a place for discussions. Like, say, hey, listen, this person had a completely different experience than I did. Let's talk about it. And so, so I appreciate people coming with different opinions, with also a little bit of respect, saying, hey, I don't agree with you, right? Not fuck you, shill. That's the kind of language about me or about my co-host that I'm not going to fucking tolerate. However, I'm very, very open to conversations because people go, oh, your opinions, your reviews are biased. Like, yeah, they're my opinions. All my opinions are
Yeah.
biased to some
Yeah.
degree or another, right? So tell me your opinions. I want to hear your biased opinions. Maybe they'll counteract mine. I love talking about video games, Wes, and so when people come with
Yeah,
their
that's the thing
opinions,
people need to remember. At the end of the day, no one's the authority. Like everyone's different. Everyone has different tastes and different opinions. So all you can really do is like find someone who you feel like is the closest to your opinion and listen to them. Not
yeah,
everyone's going to see things the way I do. But certainly Brian and I don't always see eye to eye on these games. Um,
at least
and
twice in
nor
history,
should we.
yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. The games that we don't agree on stand out like very much in my memory, like Twilight Zone, Wraith the Oblivion Afterlife, After the
Yeah.
Fall. Those are the
Yeah.
ones. Yeah. The Game Cat Andrew Ehrenreich gifted one Without Pro membership. Thank you, Andrew, for your awesome generosity. Red Rover, send Joe Grover right over the effing Game Cat with the $5 tip. I love that the coffee fucking kicked in 7:31 minutes before we end the show. Said Wes played the game for no less than 3 or 4 hours and got through 2 screws and a grate. LOL.
Yeah, right. So it takes about that long. And I had it disabled. There's a mechanic in this game where uh it will listen to your microphone. So like if you cough or sneeze or something while you're playing, the monster will come and kill you. I had that disabled, thankfully. But it's that hardcore.
I like have to talk to fucking Tornado while I'm playing games. Like she rubs up against my leg and starts meowing. I'm like, hey, is everything okay? And then can you imagine getting killed by a monster because you had to check on your cat? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bound Underground says, but we all agree Skinamarink slaps. No, we do not. No, we do not. Skinamarink is my least favorite horror movie of all time, and that is saying something because I've seen some fucking shitty ass horror movies. No, I just didn't get it. I still don't get it. People have explained it to me. I still don't get it. All right, man, we got to wrap this thing up. But thank you guys so much for being here. We love you all so very much. Go subscribe to Wes. Go subscribe to AJ. Go subscribe to Miles. Spread the VR love around. These guys are doing awesome work. And just so happy that you guys are my co-hosts and that I get to spend time with you every single week. These Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule streams I look forward to them. It helps get your mind off of things and reminds you how much fun you're supposed to be having while doing a job like this. It's so easy to forget sometimes with all the work that's involved that it's supposed to be fun. And so thank you guys for making my job fun. Thank you, Wes, for making my job fun. I love you guys so very much. but let's get out of here. Thank you, everybody who supports the channel financially. Patreon.com/without Parole Games. Everybody over here for being a member. Anybody who tips during the show. I always forget this somehow. Everybody who hangs out in the chat, that's way more important. We're just happy that you're here, part of the community. Go join the Discord. That's a real fucking community hangout. But of course, there's everybody who watched the show, sits back, doesn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there. We love you just as much. Happy Wednesday, Wes.
Happy Wednesday, Brian. Later, cats.
Let's go. All right, Wes, you want to see what's happening this day in Without Parole history?
Can't wait. It's my favorite thing.
That's good. It's good. It's because every single Wednesday we get to do this and then go, how did we survive for those 3 years where nothing happened?
We always go as far back as possible. Like don't look at last year when everything was awesome. Let's
Right.
go back to the way back when we know it wasn't.
All right. Well, then let's go back to, is there 2021? Let's see what we got here. Oh man. Let's go back to 2020.
Ooh.
This is November 5th, 2020. This is as far back as we've gone for a while, because for quite a long time, the thumbnails didn't actually reflect, didn't have words on them. It just said PSVR Gamescast Live. But this one has a big ass logo. So let's see what that logo is. We played the Alvo beta, exclusive gameplay footage and first impressions. Dude, we played the Alvo beta.
Wow. The Alvo beta.
Wow.
Alvo was out in 2020, wasn't it?
I mean,
Alvo
maybe
was 2019, right?
I don't know, man.
I guess not.
November 5th, 2020, unless I have the date on the thumbnail file incorrect. We played the Alvo beta. If you guys don't know the history of Alvo, there was this pretty cool CGI trailer for Alvo when it was very first announced. And it looked great, but it was CGI. And then the studio that was making it kind of didn't have the money to continue. And then Steve came along and saved the studio, funded the game. People basically were telling him, hey, we only got a couple more months of work to go on this thing. We just need to push it across the finish line. Those couple more months ended up being close to 2 years. So it cost him way more to get Alvo out the door. And so there was a lot of expectations because it was a game that was seemingly in development for the better part of 100 years. And then it came out and it was pretty damn good, man. Alvo was a lot of fun. Oh, Shapeshifter says I played the Alvo beta too.
No, I still like Alvo. I think it's good. They add a lot of features and stuff into it and things that you don't see in typical games from the genre.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good cross between like a serious like multiplayer shooter and like an arcade style multiplayer shooter.
Yep, I agree. Princess Summer Scales in the chat says Alva might have had a rough start, but it's still got the best movement of online VR shooters. Yeah, man, they let you slide, they let you jump around, and you could jump on top of things. You could get on top of ledges and tarps and stuff. Like just so there was verticality in this game that a lot of other shooters didn't have. So I mean, the launch was some jank. There was still some jank the last time I dropped in there, but man, very very ambitious. And with any luck, we'll see an Alvo 2 at some point. I don't know if that's a thing or not.
Nope.
All right. Sorry, did you say let's hope?
Yeah, so let's hope.
Let's hope. All right, guys, let's go play some C64.